Greetings, good morning. Remember me? I finally got it together to come out and do my first proper video of 2024. I mean, it's not proper. Proper would of course be philosophical musings from the trail side whilst out on some epic multi-day ride in the wilderness. But sadly, life is too busy and the weather is a little too grim still for those kind of rides. So instead today we've got a little bushcrafty experiment type thing to mess around with. See if we can get that to work. So this is a lump of pine pitch glue that I made over a year ago now, I think. This is a little bag of wood shavings from a recent batch of wooden spoons and butter spreaders I made, which are available to purchase in my brand new Etsy store, now live. Link in the description, details at the end of the video. Today I'm going to try and combine those two things together to make 100% foraged natural firelighters. This is based on very little. I've never done this before. I don't know if it's going to work at all. It's just an experiment, isn't it? If you're interested to see, then I am going to do a massive waffly intro now. If you want to skip straight to the nitty gritty, see if it works, I'll put a chapter marker down below. Otherwise, for those of you who enjoy my waffle, brace yourselves, we're going in. Right, with that warning out of the way, I feel like I can waffle amongst friends now. It's nice, can relax. As I said, I made this over a year ago and I've never done it before, I've never done it since. It was just something I wanted to try. I followed instructions that I found on another YouTube channel and I ended up with this. This is 2 parts pine resin, 1 part charcoal, 1 part rabbit poo, and that fairly unappetizing recipe yields a pretty amazing product, I have to say. If you've ever dealt with raw pine resin, if you've ever got it on your fingers or on your knife or your gear, you'll know how sticky it is and how hard to shift it is. But you mix it with those 2 ingredients, heat it up till it melts and then let it set, and it becomes, I mean, this is solid. I can't mark it with a fingernail. It's hard as anything. Zero stickiness. I mean, you could put this in your hair, in your pocket. It's amazing. It's like it feels like plastic. And it holds those properties definitely at room temperature. I mean, this has been sat in a pot by the door all through last summer, and it hasn't visibly distorted or slumped at all in that time. But there is a temperature, which we shall find out in a minute, above which it will turn back into a thick, gloopy, black, sticky mess. On the day I made this, I used a dollop of it to stick 2 rounds of hazel firewood together. So chainsaw smoothed ends, big dollop of this, stuck them together, let it set. It was quite a cold day, which probably helped. And then used an old luggage scale to see how much weight it took to break that join. And it took 17 kilograms, which is, I think, pretty amazing for something that came out of a tree and a rabbit's bottom. And you can see why such a thing would have been really valuable to sort of ancient peoples. Pretty readily available ingredients, simple prep, resulting in a portable, incredibly versatile adhesive. You use this for fixing arrowheads, spearheads, and probably all kinds of amazing stuff that we just don't know about. You know, those prehistoric kind of societies, we always judge them by stones and bones, right? Because that's what survives. And I mean, I'm no historian, I'm completely assuming this, but I don't see why they shouldn't have been equally as skilled with wood as they were with flint knapping and working bone and stuff. So I can imagine that if you suddenly teleported back in time, you would see, as well as fantastic flint knappers, you would see all kinds of amazing structures made of wood, tools, utensils and things, and probably a lot of it would have incorporated this. You know, this stuff, maybe with the addition of more fibrous material or cordage, would act like fiberglass does now. You know, this is the birth of material science right here, and I think that's very, very cool. But I don't do any of that stuff. I don't know how to knap flint or work bone, or make spears or arrows or any of that. So I just ended up with a hard black lump and nothing to do with it. So I thought I'd try and do something useful. I do occasionally light fires, and there's always a lot of discussion online about making firelighters. You know, people use dryer lint, which seems kind of disgusting to me. Cotton wool balls and Vaseline, wood shavings and paraffin wax, all kinds of stuff. So I thought, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can make a 100% natural foraged firelighter. You know, I'm imagining that I can melt this down, mix in the wood shavings to the right proportion, that you get a solid core of this stuff with a greater surface area due to the wood chip, and some of those longer shavings will stick out and form a kind of wick that will take a flame and burn while you get your fire going around it. It's probably too much to dream that it might also take a spark from a ferro rod, but that's what we're here to find out. This is science, the cutting edge of maybe 5,000 years ago or something. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. I think that's waffly intro over. So we're going to get a little fire going and yeah, start doing some material science. Right, there we go. Not the prettiest fire in the world, but it's a fire. Just in case there are any purists out there, I know I've thrown the term bushcraft in already. I don't really count this as bushcraft. Lighting a fire when there's no wind, you've got a decent ferro rod and a massive handful of paperbark birch is only ever so slightly harder than turning on the gas hob at home. Maybe one day I'll learn to do it with just a flint, steel and charcloth in the pouring rain. Then I can start calling myself a proper bushcrafter. Anyway, we've got a little fire going. I'm gonna let that burn down, so we've got some embers and I can spend a bit more time with the gluey bit, and then we'll start melting this stuff down, see what happens. So as you can see, it's quite flammable. It smells amazing as well. It smells all piney and lovely. Fortunately no rabbit poo smell. But I think I need to do this over a much lower, more gentle heat with less rising flames. So I think a nice bed of embers is definitely the way forward. So I'm going to work on that for a moment. So a lot of the wood around here is pretty wet. It's been pretty wet recently, and a lot of it is really dead as well, or green. So I'm having a hard time getting a bed of embers. Everything's either so small and dead that it burns away immediately, or so wet that it just sits and smokes. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to turn the glue on its stick just over the flame for a bit and manually control the distance and see if I can get it to start glooping. Once I get it into the pot, hopefully the embers will be ready and we can start simmering and mixing and Who knows? So it didn't take much heat at all for it to soften up enough to get it off the stick and into the tin. The smell, it's amazing. As soon as it warms up, you get that fantastic, fresh, resinous kind of scent coming off it, like wet pine forests and throat lozenges. It's really, really delicious. It's like you could eat it. Oh, it's wonderful. Anyway, I'm going to try and get it down to a proper liquid now, and we'll see if we can start mixing in some of these shavings. Okay, I have no idea whether this is ready, but it looks sort of the way I'd imagined it might in my head. So I'm going to start trying to get it to the right consistency that I can gloop out a couple of lumps and try and make them into manageable little tablets sort of things and let them set. And then once they're set and solid, we shall see, what they're like and whether they burn. Who knows? Who knows? Well, I think these are done for what it's worth. They take a very, very short amount of time to lose all their heat and set, and now it's back to completely solid. It's got a biscuity texture. Working it into these shapes with your fingers, it is sticky when it's warm, but it's nothing like pine sap, and it comes off, after it's set on your skin, so it's not actually too messy to work with. And these are crumbly because they've got so much wood chip in them, but you could have that in a bag or in your pocket or whatever. I don't know if it would get sticky at pocket temperature, but it's definitely transportable and pretty solid. It's not going to fall apart easily. So I guess the thing to do now is to see how flammable they are. So I can think of many, many ways that you could vary this experiment. The mix and recipe of the glue that you start with, the type and the size of the wood shavings, the temperature you melt it to, the proportion of chip to glue, the shape and size of these little biscuits that you make at the end, all of that could be varied. But for today, for this first test, there's just a couple of things I want to check. The first being, does it actually even work? So, does it take a flame? Simplest flame, lighter, biscuit. Let's try this and see. Pretty successful, I would say. It took the flame very, very easily, burned quite vigorously. As you can see, it didn't sort of shake out. You can blow it out, but it's not thermite or anything like that. That's pretty good. I'm quite pleased with that. So next thing I want to try is, does it take a flame after it's got wet? Yeah, it's not saturated, but I poured water all over both sides of it. There's water in the little crevices and things, so we shall see whether it still works. This is a new biscuit, by the way. sputtering a bit. You can see the water dripping out. Yeah, it's not happy, which is unsurprising. So, somewhat unsurprisingly, I suppose, it doesn't really like to burn when it's wet, which is a pity. I thought the pine resin might have enough kind of, I don't know, fuel in it to burn through dampness, but it doesn't seem to. I wonder if using something other than just cherry wood chips would help that. Maybe grinding up some paper bark birch or something like that has a bit of that natural accelerant in it might make a difference, or again surface area, all those kind of things might make a difference, but that's all right, we shall see. Final thing then, which I'm not confident about after the dampness test, is to see whether it takes a spark from a ferro rod, so give that a shot. Well, I'm going to be honest, I was surprised about that last one, I have to say. I don't know if you could see on the video, but the spark that finally took landed right at the interface between a particularly nice thin wood shaving and the resin. So that was probably as much luck as judgment. And I would think that if making these ferro rod ready was your goal, then getting the right size and thickness of wood shavings, getting the proportion of that mix correct would probably be really, really important. But for a first stab, just to prove the concept, I'm really pleased. I think this has worked really, really well. I'll have a couple of these in my cook kit and I'll see how they survive, whether they fall apart or stick to everything and get disgusting or what, and maybe there'll be another video on this subject coming very soon. I could have made them smaller, definitely could have made them smaller. I get the impression they're probably going to burn for quite a long time, so actually I think I could have probably got 3 out of what I've got 1 out of there, but that's why we do these things, isn't it? We live and learn. Yeah, that's kind of the end of it, really. As I mentioned up the top, my Etsy store is now live on Etsy. I'll stick a link down below in the description if you're interested in things made of wood by me, spoons, butter spreaders, hopefully soon some necklaces like the one I wear, and just other bits and pieces will be up there. Yeah, go and have a look. Feedback always gratefully received. If you buy anything, please do leave a review and all that sort of stuff. It helps. Blah blah blah. Thank you very much to those of you who've watched this far, to my monthly Ko-fi supporters. Thank you from the bottom of my bottom. You are the firelighters in my cook kit. You keep me warm at night. Yeah, what else to say? Do any of you watch Smarter Every Day? It's another YouTube channel. He's very good. If you're into like science and engineering and stuff, check him out, Smarter Every Day. I was watching one of his videos this morning and he was trying to light a bullet, no, not light a bullet, trying to light a match with a bullet. And it was a very entertaining video, lots of cool slow motion photography of bullets and things. But he ended it by saying how the point of the video was not to light a match with a bullet, but was actually just for him and his buddy to hang out in the garage and play with guns and explosives and have a good time together. And I thought that resonated quite nicely with me and this, and I was thinking about it as I was cooking these up, because this is something I've been thinking about doing this for ages and I've wanted to do it, and if I hadn't known that I could make a video about it, there's a possibility that I wouldn't have got round to doing it, or it wouldn't have happened as soon as it did. So I want to say thank you to all of you specifically, you watching this now, who I've never met, probably. But yeah, thank you for hanging out in the woods with me this afternoon and being my bushcraft buddy. It's been a joy. It's been a joy. But I am hungry now, so I'm going to go home, bake some potatoes, and do nothing else. Hopefully some more videos coming soon. I've got no hard plans, but I'm sure there will be something. I will see you all on the next one. Bye now. Pine fresh.